Okay, hey everyone, how's it going? We are back. It's been a while. Um, we have been working on some stuff, which you can kind of see here. This is what I'm working on. Right? Yeah. I took a screenshot of this for the background of the picture. It was exactly this screen, so it kind of took me a while. But anyway, today is just going to be a chill stream. I want to put the finishing touches on this library here, the agent library, and kind of get it up and running so that it kind of comes with your Agent Studio by default. That's the main goal. And try it out. Hopefully make this, make a new circuit file that serves as the demo or the example for it, which would be good. And things of that nature. So one of the reasons why to have the demo is if you go and right click on some things that you've installed, if it has a demo, it will show you, not just show in File Explorer, you can open a demo as well, or an example, which I think is really good for figuring out how to get these things to work. So yeah, that's gonna be what I'm doing today. It's not gonna be maybe not the most interesting stream, but if everyone has any questions or anything like that, just put them in the chat. Happy to answer any questions. And if you have ideas or anything like that, just let me know. It should be a fun stream. So yeah. So anyway, let me kind of explain what is going on here. So essentially, there's this new component library that I'm calling the agent library, Express AI agents. And it's a simple way to kind of define some tools like this, where I can make a function called get current time, and then implement that tool using more circuit components, right? And then set that as the output. And then you make a tool belt of your components, and then create an agent. And you can say that you want an OpenAI agent or Google Vertex AI agent. And you give it a memory, like this Vecto memory. And then you give it a system prompt, which is kind of how you want your agent to act. This is a very simple agent. We have plans for like a more complicated one. It's in the works. But this one should be good enough for this. And then once you have, like some message coming in, which in here I implement with Converse, which is another library that does that. You just call agent run, and you pick the agent that you want to run, and you give it the message that you want to give to the agent. And then, it thinks about what it should be doing. And then every time there's a thought, you can, print that out, and it will use a tool, if necessary, to accomplish what you asked it to do. And then finally, we stream the response back to the user, right? So that's a simple thing. So if I can show this working on the beta platform, if it's running. As a beta, we are doing many things to it right now. And I think Paul said he was going to be working with it. So almost ready for the kind of beta release for everyone. But essentially, if I go here and I do demo bot, like so, you can see it opens up a Technologic UI, and I can start a conversation with it and say, what is the current time? Oops, it is going to the wrong place. Let's fix that. By default, it should use Express AI, but I was playing around with other things. So let's go and do that again. So if I restart, it says March 7, 11:10 p.m. That is correct. That is the time. We go back to the platform and look at the logs of the demo bot. We can see that it use the tool get turn time. So that's essentially what that does, and the fact that you can do this so easily. So just to give you guys some perspective, let's look in AWS console, right? Let's look into Bedrock real quick and see what you get with Amazon Bedrock, because I think this is an important distinction. Because of course Bedrock has agents. That's right here, it says agents. But for me to do the same thing, it's a lot more involved. So first, I need to create IAM permissions for this thing. I need to give some sort of idle session timeout. And for ExpressAI, essentially, if you're in the business plan, your agents never time out. Then once you figure that out, so let's make a bar model here. Let's just give the minimum what it says. You have to pick which model you can do, and your choices are Anthropic, right? So you don't get a chance of doing anything else, and that sucks, right? Because like right now, if I go to foundation models and look at Sonnet, right? Like it says I don't have access to Anthropic, right? So can't do it right now. It's impossible. So there was that. Let's do bar again here. Now, okay, so cool. We'll have Anthropic. Maybe that works for you. Then you did put some instructions. So let's go to, for example, here, take these instructions, do the same thing, but on Bedrock. Then you have to do action group 1, right? And you got the name. So the name get current time, right? In the description, same thing. But then what to do, you have to deploy something on AWS Lambda, So like to get in here, if I want to add a new function, right, or a new tool, I just go define tool, and then I can make it do anything I want. Like maybe I want it to list my namespaces in my Kubernetes cluster. Connect that there, get the namespaces, and then agent tool output. Connect that into the results, and boom, I'm done. I now have a new tool. And as long as I give this a name, like, I don't know, kubectl or something like that, give that a name for the agent to know what it does, I'm done, right? I save and I compile, and now I have a new agent that can do this stuff, right? Whereas in Bedrock, I have to create a project. I got to make a Lambda function. I got to implement a ton of code. I need to make an open API schema, upload it to S3, and then put it there for each one. And yeah, that's a lot of work. It's a lot of work for everything. Now it does have this knowledge base, which is pretty cool, but we of course have a knowledge base in the platform based off of Vecto. So if you guys know Vecto, you'll see that it looks the same if it's running. Remember, this is under construction at the moment. But yeah, like that's kind of what we're doing. Let me delete that because I don't have Kubernetes installed in this thing here. And we'll do that. Let me see. Oh, there's some questions. There's a comment from Freezy. So the devs are here. So if anyone has a question or anything that they're interested in, let us know. But yeah, we're just doing this, but just so much easier and a lot more flexible, I think. Yeah, and here's a knowledge base. So like if I wanted to have the Kubernetes documents crawled, I can have them in here and have that be a thing. And I would say the other thing is we have this crawler component library that allows you to define how it grabs things, right? So you're not stuck with whatever it thinks your documents should be. You can actually do all sorts of stuff, and I think that's actually kind of important because, for example, in here, so this is a string due to a bug, but it should be a JSON document, and it has things like URL and heading, subheading, and more things in the actual version. And that stuff is like important for the agent to know. It's not just what page in this PDF document it's in. It can make an actual response based off of this metadata. So being in control of it, I think, is the better thing. So that's what we're doing there. So yeah, so that's it. So the agent framework is almost ready to be open sourced. If we go to GitHub and go to ExpressAI, it's this, currently private, as I'm going to now create an example and then set it in here as the example, and then I will publish that. So let's make an example. So start from scratch. Right? Let me create a new circuits file. Let me rename this one. So this was untitled circuits. Let's rename that to agent example. Okay, cool. And what do we do? So there's also, I guess, there's actually quite a lot of people watching right now. Not everyone is familiar with circuits, I think. But if you don't know circuits, circuits is an open source plugin that we've created for Jupyter Lab. And it allows you to kind of drag and drop components and make programs out of it in a similar style to Unreal Engine, which is a popular game engine. But the interesting thing about circuits, I would argue, is that, you know, for example, let's say I have this soup select in this crawler, and maybe I need it to do something that it doesn't do. In a lot of toolkits, that's the end. It's game over. You know, if it doesn't come built in, you're screwed. But in circuits, you can right-click on any component and open that in a script, right? So soup select is here. It's highlighted and shows you everything. And I can do whatever I want before that. So if I need to debug something, I just add a little print statement here. I do like self-selector.value. I'll just print that out, right? And now whenever this is being used, it will print it. It gets applied automatically. And when you run a component, so like, let's say I do something like this. When you compile a circuits file, it becomes a Python file. You give this a second to update. Yeah, agent example.py, there it is. It becomes a Python file, which itself is a component, right? So you can do interesting things there. But it's just plain Python. And so you can take this Python file and put it somewhere else and just run it. And I think that's important. It makes things very easy and simple. But yeah, and our platform, the ExpressAI platform, kind of merges all of these things together. So you have circuits to define agents or services. You can also have services like this translator service. And we have our vector database and integrations with other things that you can add in. So I think it's going to be pretty great. But we need to polish some of the things, and that's what I'm going to be doing today. So let's first, I want to update this agent components. So let me just open this, take the latest source from here, copy it in. Because it's not open source and I don't have my key in here, it's a little bit difficult for me to keep these in sync. So let's do that, and let's save. And now if I go here and click refresh, I now have the new tool. So one of the things I added in this release is the NumPy memory. So there's two memories. There's the Vecto memory and the NumPy memory. And I should change the name. The Vecto memory allows you to go to the platform and create a vector space where you can give it knowledge, right? So it can have knowledge of other conversations it has, and you can restart the bot and it still has that same knowledge. So that's why it's good to have that knowledge there. And for that, you would use the Vecto memory. But if you just need your agent to have some kind of memory, and it doesn't matter what kind of memory it has. You just use the NumPy memory, and it's a local one that uses OpenAI, and it should be pretty simple. But yeah, one thing I noticed is that this is named wrong. It just says NumPy memory, so I will rename it. Let's open that script. So this is the component, and I'll call this agent NumPy memory. And that's really all I need to do. Now, if I come here and delete this and refresh this list, I have agent NumPy memory. That's good. Okay, so let's use that. And let me use OpenAI first to make a simple agent. Now the thing is, in this example, I don't necessarily want it to run with Converse. So I might do a kind of like static thing here. So not that we can interact with it, but like just a static kind of thing. But anyway, so let's do the OpenAI authorize. We'll do the actual official one for now instead of the ExpressAI proxy. And then for the API key, I need to grab it here somewhere. One sec. It's the password field, so let's PB copy that. Okay, so that's good. Okay, so now that my OpenAI is authorized, I can implement this memory, and I can set up a tool belt. So if we make tool belt, that's a good one. So I'll make the default tool belt. It can be whatever, but default is the first one. And then I init the agent, like so. Let's connect the memory in here. Let's give the agent a name. What's a good name for an agent? Bitcoin's getting really big, so let's do the HODLbot, something like that. Yeah, that's what we want. Okay, so the agent provider, we actually have support right now for OpenAI and Vertex AI, a Google one. And I do want to try Anthropic soon. We should have everything we need for that. So I'll do that, maybe in the stream or later. So Vertex AI or OpenAI are the two providers there. So I will set that to OpenAI. Okay. Oh, and another thing I want to do is finish the documentation of everything. Okay. The agent model for this one, I want to keep it cheap. So GPT 3.5 Turbo, which you can do. And then for the system prompt, I'm going to say you are a Bitcoin bot that helps people keep up with the Bitcoin price and help them stack sats. I think that's what all the cool guys are calling it. Yeah. Then you have the max thoughts. So this max thoughts is essentially a limit of how much the agent can use the tools, right? So I can set 5 or 10, and essentially it will use the tool. And if the tool has all the information it needs, it then responds to the user. But if it doesn't, or it had an error, or there's another tool, it can, say tool again and use another one. The funny thing about this is sometimes I have bugs in my tools that I've defined, and I want it to, get that error and tell me what the error was. But a lot of the time the agent goes, oh, that's not available, I should do something else. And then it uses another tool to come up with a roundabout way of solving my problem. And that's very annoying when that happens, when you want it to be stupid. So yeah, it's times like that where I have to put in print statements because I know it failed, I just don't know what it failed with. And if the agent doesn't tell me, there's nowhere else to put it, so I have to add print statement after the output to see what happened. Okay, so with that, I should have a simple agent, right? And what I'm going to do now is run it like so. And it's a little weird to have the agent name in here, and stuff like that. Oh, right, it's not that. The agent name is HODLbot. Yeah, there we go. And I need a conversation. So I will go into general. I'll make a literal chat here. So I'll do user, and I'll say, what is the current Bitcoin price? So the user is going to say that. Very simple. And then this will, it will run, and then we're going to print out the response. Let's print out the entire conversation. And then every time there's a thought, I want to print out the thought, like so. Okay, and then it's done, right? So it's about as simple of an agent as you can get. Okay, cool. So right now it doesn't have any tools. So what it's going to respond with is, hey, I don't know what the current Bitcoin price, I'm just a bot, I'm just a language model. Let's run that and just make sure that that's the case. I don't have OpenAI installed in here. Okay, that's easy enough to fix. Install OpenAI. I do have it installed, it's just an old one. Which is, yeah, I know why that happened if that's the case. Oh man, that's so bad. Okay, so we want 113.3. Let's do that. Cancel that. Go here. Pip install -u. OpenAI. Okay, cool. So if we do that, and now we run it again. Locally, we can test to see, it says, all right. Okay, so this was one of the things I was wondering about. They didn't have any tools defined. So I was kind of wondering if it'll fail or not. It does fail. I think that's what we want. If you don't have any tools, there's no real point to have an agent. So let's add a tool called get current time, right? And then this will be returns the current time in ISO format, something like that. Okay, the default tool belt is the default, so we don't necessarily have to specify it, but I'll put it in there just to showcase that that's how you can have multiple tool belts. You can also have multiple agents, and those agents can talk to each other. So you can have one agent have a tool where it talks to an agent to get it to do something. And that's one of the things that we did with SREbot, and that's pretty cool. Okay, so let's do the current time, which is one of the components I've created, and then agent output. What did I call it again? Agent tool output. Okay, so we just put that into the agent tool output. Now there is one tool in there, so that will work. But essentially, API key. Do only have the API key in there. Was it? Oh, right. I sometimes forget to do that the correct way. Okay, so let's run that again. Okay, now we're at Agent Run, and it says assistant. The current price of Bitcoin is 47,500. So it just made it up. Weirdly specific, but whatever. It doesn't know the price, but it's kind of expecting to say 69,000 or something like that. So let's give it a tool to do the actual price. Let's do agent define tool, and then we'll call this get Bitcoin price. That will do, and gets the current Bitcoin price from CoinDesk or something like that. Yeah, that should be enough. If anybody has any other ideas of maybe something less cringy of a example, let me know. I'm open for ideas here. I mean, it's kind of funny now, but not always going to be that funny. Let's see, is there something easy that we can do here? I don't think so. Yeah, I don't think so. Maybe we could have like a generic request thing, but that would also be a separate component library, and we don't want to have that in this example. We want to kind of keep it to just the agent. So agent will output or something like that, and then I'll just put some result. What is the current price? BTC USD. 67,320. It's ridiculous. I wish I had all my Bitcoin. Okay, so let me make a literal string. I think that should be good. Put that price in there. Okay, put that there. Cool. So now it has this tool for getting the current Bitcoin price. So if we run it, it should probably use that tool. And it doesn't because it's too dumb. It's too dumb. Oh, right. No, it's not dumb. It's not dumb. So the other thing in the system prompt, which is important, is you need to tell it what tools it has, right? And so we had in here, the tool prompt in here somewhere. So you need to tell it what tools it has. So right now it doesn't even know it has any tools, right? So it didn't do anything. So what we want to add is tool and tool instruction. So what we can do is go in here and put tool instruction and tools. Okay, so that's kind of the bare minimum of what you want. And you can also customize that tool instruction if you want, or if you find that it doesn't do it right. And you can also embed examples, which we might need to do. Okay, so what's current price? And it says, I can help you with that. Use the following command, right? That's not what we want. So we can give it an example. So examples, user. What is the, here let's do with new lines. So what is the current time? Then the assistant, do tool, get current time. And system will say Thursday, it should be like 2024, 0307, 2335, 00, something like that. And then assistant responds with the current time is 11:35 p.m. March 7th. Okay, so now it has an example, which should help it, especially if you're talking to GPT 3.5 Turbo. It's not the brightest bulb. And if we do that, say cool, get current Bitcoin price. Tool, get current Bitcoin price not found. Probably get Bitcoin price. Tools is not in there. I see. Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense. I used two things in here because I was dumb. I want to do it this way. That is the correct way. And let's restart that kernel and run it. You don't need to restart the kernel just for changing things in here. Okay, Bitcoin price output. Stir has no attribute value. That makes sense. That totally makes sense. That's something that we shouldn't have a problem with, actually, but we do. Now the simple fix for that, there's a super simple fix. It's kind of dumb that I would have to do it, and not expected that you should have to do that. But let's concat string and then return that. So let's put the $sign with the price like so. Connect those two together. Now instead of a literal, it has an output. And that output has a value. But that should definitely be unnecessary. Okay, so it called the tool get Bitcoin price. It got that price, and now it's saying the current Bitcoin price is 37. That's cool. So now we have an agent that is able to do that. I think that should be an okay example. Let's make it less cringy. And like the whole Bitcoin thing, I mean, it's kind of fun, but you know, maybe it's not going to be so fun. Let's do something like that. Oh, and if you haven't noticed, when it did that error before, it did it multiple times, right? So it like tried different things, and that's the interesting thing about this this agent platform. It can like try different stuff, and then sometimes it figures out how to get around errors by itself, and things like that. So if I gave it multiple ways to be able to access the Bitcoin price, so maybe there's a get Bitcoin price tool, but also, you know, like search Google tool, it might search Google for Bitcoin price and then get the price from there, right? So that's pretty cool when it does that. Okay, so let's change this to get current time. And then say you are a bot. It helps people figure out the time. Figure out time zones. Yes, let's do that. Figure out time zones. Okay, close enough. I think that's pretty good. This time string. I think this is in utils. I might have to add this into utils, but the time zone here is kind of hard coded, and that's no good. That is no good at all. This I made for an example, so let's get rid of that. Actually, I might need to leave that in there because I have another bot that's running that's using it. So let's do GMT plus 0 or something. Not sure about that. Let's run Python and figure out if I can do that. Import itz dot time zone is what it's called. Time zone t plus 0. I do UTC. Okay, I think I can do UTC, so let's do that with UTC. And the ISO format date time. Let me see what that looks like. I think there was also one that had the time zone. Look at that. Plus something. Can stir F time do that for me? Stir F time. That's a good question. Should probably ask ChatGPT about that, but I know it is plus 0000. And that's what we want. Got to make sure to update the utils to have that. So let's do that. What is the current time in Tokyo, right? And then this will do plus 000. If I were to run that right now, let's just give it a correct example. We don't want it to go like kind of crazy with stuff. You know, trash in, trash out type of thing. Okay, so if I run this in a simple shell like this, I don't have PyTZ here. Okay, fine. I'll just do it here. Okay, so we have PyTZ, and then I can import datetime as datetime. And then I can do that and this. And then finally do this. All right, just print it out. Okay, so something like that. So it should be 14, something like that. So this should be 14, 35, 00. So in Tokyo. Yeah. Okay, cool. So now we have a bot that could actually be very useful. And if I say, what is the current time in California? Okay, and then the bot should be able to do math in its head, maybe. I don't know. We could give it a different tool for doing calculations or things like that. We don't need to. 2:43 p.m. in North Southern California. You're dumb. You're dumb, ChatGPT 3.5. You're dumb. It's dumb as nails. It's ridiculous. Okay, let's see if GPT-4 can understand the nuance of what we are trying to accomplish here. Okay, 6:44 a.m. in March 17th. See? That's why ChatGPT-4 is what everybody loves. And ChatGPT 3.5, you're no good. You're no good at all. Okay, so I think that for me feels like a simple example that should teach people the basics of what they need to know on how to use the agent component library. Okay, so I'm going to save that. Let me download it, or actually first, let me get rid of my secret. Can't be empty. Thanks. Thanks. So useful. Okay. Let's do from env true. That way you have to use the integration. Right? You have to use the integration if you want to use it, and that's fine. But that's a good example. Okay, so with that, let's save it. Let's go back here. Agent example, and download that. Then let's throw that in here. Okay, then I think, let me look at this up again. So it's kind of new, the whole example thing. If I look for Bedrock, I think I did the same thing here. Default example path. That's what I want. So I'll just add that there. Agent example circuits. Cool. So let's add those things. Git push. Add example. Push origin main. Okay, cool. So now we have the example in here. That's nice. And boy, it would be so cool if it could render it, but it can't. Now let's add some comments. So, for example, you can go here and there's no comments, right? You don't have any like that. So let's just add those real quick. It's a pretty simple thing to do. Agent components. So to add a comment, you can look at some of the others. Let me see if Flask had some comments in here. Yeah, it's just a doc string. And inside is essentially Markdown. So you can just put any kind of Markdown you want in here, and that should be fine. So we're just going to do that like so. Actually, all right, I updated this. So let's copy this in here. Git diff. Did I have? Yeah, I just changed that, and that's the only thing. So git add, git commit, name, pi, memory to agent. Okay, that's cool. Now I'll turn on this thing to help me with the, I would like to turn it on. I think I can. No, that's not the worst thing in the world. It's ready but disabled, enabled completions. Okay, cool. So now let's grab this and we'll start using it. Okay, so the memory, those are internal. And then our first component is the agent numpy memory. We're going to say that this creates a local and temporary memory for the agent to store and query information. And that's exactly what I want. It has no imports, it has outports. Right, and the outport is just memory. The memory set on agent init. That should be fine. That needs to go in one. Cool. So that's good there. Then agent make tool. Do that. Creates tool. And given parameters, yeah, it's not. So this is something I could maybe discuss here. So there's two ways to make tools. There's define tool and make tool. And I think I might want to get rid of make tool. So make tool allows you to specify the tool inside here. So inside like this blue line. And what that means is that you can make a context-specific tool. Whereas if you use a start branch like this, so it's essentially an event and therefore global. And I'm not sure that's what people want. Or I'm sure that this is 90% of the time what you want. I'm not sure if this has any real use case. So maybe I might get rid of it in the public one. I'll keep it for myself, but we get rid of the make tool. Unless someone has a really good idea, ooh, that's a bad idea. I should have multiple ways to define the tools. I think we'll do this one. I think we'll do that one. Let's make a comment string. Let this thing define a tool the agent can use when necessary. The tool defined here will be available as tools in the agent system prompt. I mean, that's not totally correct. That's the tool belt. So yeah, maybe I'll leave that for the tool belt discussion. So the idea behind the tools in the tool belt is you can essentially have two different agents and they can have different tool belts. So they have access to different tools. So that's the idea. The interesting thing about that make tool versus define tool is that because it's in line, you just hook that tool into the tool belt that you want to use. And that's, I guess it's nice, but it's also, just more lines, and kind of want to make less lines as much as possible. Just keep things as simple as possible. Yeah, so this event will be called the agent and uses this tool. Perform the tool actions and set the output. Let's keep this 80 aligned. Set the output at with agent tool output. Okay, and then I'm doing things backwards. I didn't want to mess with that in here because I wanted to do it in here. Okay, gotta make sure to not confuse myself. So let's get rid of that. We have two lines. Then we have this. Put that in there. Imports, and then set the tool name, the description, tool belt, input of the tool, and that's it. That's all the thing. That tool input is an out port input for the tool coming from the agent. That seems pretty simple, I think. Okay, so if we do that, let's update this code real quick. And now we do a quick refresh. And click on here. And that doesn't update. I don't know if, yeah, that's a good question. Do doc comments update properly? I think they should. I could be wrong. Doesn't matter. This is saved, right? Save. Let's reload node. Yeah, docs, we might need to reload the node to do that. So that's kind of interesting. But yeah, you can see how it looks. It'll look like this. Okay, cool. So let's go back here and let's complete the rest of the documentation. So tool output. Go to the agent. That's the tool. The results of the tool to be returned to the agent. So that's good. Make tool belt. Let's get rid of tool belt. This is old and dumb. We don't need it. And we just have to make tool belt now. And create the tool belt for the agent to use. To use import, name the name of the tool belt. Ports. Close enough. I think that's good enough. Agent Vecto memory. So I don't think this knows what Vecto is, but should be good enough. API key for Vecto, vector space, initialize, ports, the memory. I think that's it. Yeah. This API key should be a secret, which should come from here. It really should be a secret. So we can fix that. Secret, initialize, and memory out hard. And this doesn't, yeah, it's a little weird. We have an API for this, but it uses requests anyway. Agent toolbelt folder, this I might implement later. So the idea with agent toolbelt folder is you can use a define tool in a folder of different circuit files. That way you only have one, you don't have to put your tools in the same graph as the agent itself. And that could be very useful if you have like a ton of tools or something along those lines. Okay, so initializes an agent with the necessary components. So for the imports, the name of the agent, provider of the agent. I want to give some more examples for that. And it's almost right, but kind of wrong. Okay, so that was not agent system prompt, it's just system prompt. It's dumb. Max slots, the max. Okay, so let's put the name of the agent to create, right? provider of the agent, one of OpenAI or Vertex AI. And there will be an Express AI one coming soon. The model that the agent should use, such as GPT 3.5 Turbo or Gemini Pro, for example. Memory of the agent, memory that the agent should use to store and we don't necessarily know what it stores. The memory is like one of the tools it can use. It can store if it wants, or not. To store experiences. To store memory. Yeah. Store data it wants to remember. That's pretty much what it does. Remembers it. A system prompt of the agent. Be sure to specify tool instruction and tools to explain how to use them. That to like that max. That's the maximum number of thoughts tools the agent can use before it must respond to the user. And the tool belt the agent has access to. Okay, cool. So there is like 30 people watching, which is way more than before. Yeah, any questions, comments, leave them. If you're on Twitter and I'm not getting those, I'm not sure if I can see them on StreamYard. We use StreamYard for this thing. But if you did have questions and I'm not answering them, come over to Twitch and ask them. Though I might open up Twitter just to see what's going on later. So I'll keep an eye on that. Okay, then we have our make tools prompt, Vertex AI, and then agent run. So this is where the magic happens. So our imports are the agent name, use, and the conversation to send to the agent. Okay, and then the outports are the conversation with the agent's responses and the last response of the agent. That is true. And then we have a branch. So it's not the next action to take when a thought is finished. Called whenever the agent uses a tool. And so you can do things with this, like for example, you can show that the agent, like you can stream that tool use into the output, so you can see what tools it used. So that's why that's there. That's that. And I think the other thing I want to do with onThought is that may be none. Oh, let's get rid of these prints that we don't need. parameters is not used, and that makes sense. Stress levels there. Stress level is another thing that I want to be more smart about. Essentially, it's like the temperature, right? So if it fails, we don't want it to just do the same thing again. We want it to try something else. So every time it fails, it raises the stress level, and that raises the temperature. And yeah, I think there should maybe be like a max stress level or something like that, but that's stuff we can figure out later. Let's get rid of these prints that we don't need. Okay, and then I need to refactor this later into its own thing. Because it's essentially the same. And then for OpenAI, it's kind of the same thing. We have max tokens of 2,000, which is a hard-coded thing that we probably want to get rid of. And then there's some prints, but yeah, I think I want to keep these. These are for the memory. And there's prints on exceptions, and I think that's very useful to have something in the logs instead of nothing, so that's good. Okay, so agent, run the agent with the conversation. I think that's pretty much it. Yeah, I'm not sure if there's anything else we want to say there. I mean, it's kind of maybe a lot, but yeah. Anyway, so this is kind of special. So stream the response or create. So it's totally wrong. Copilot doesn't know what it's talking about. So this creates a stream response from a string. And using Converse, it is not useful. It's better for the user to see the response word by word, as if it was being typed out like it is in ChatGPT, right? But because the agent is kind of like doing stuff, it doesn't actually stream it. It's a little bit faster that way. So we don't have like a stream output option by default, as not every provider provides that kind of ability to stream. So this kind of fakes it by taking a stream and then breaking it up into pairs of words and then returning that as a stream. Use with the converse. What was it called specifically? It was called, and Converse is another library that we will be open sourcing shortly. And that is called Converse Stream Partial Response or Stream Respond. Okay, so we use this with the or stream partial response component when using Converse. Okay, then let's do the imports, which should be the input stream, outports, which should be the result stream. That's pretty much it. Cool. It's a very simple thing there. Okay, let's go to terminal, get diff, we have some stuff. And documentation to the components. Cool. So now we should have some of that. Agent here. That looks good. And secret, let me just double check that that is indeed what it was called. And all that stuff is over here in the ExpressAI circuits. That's not very useful. Oh, there we go, circuits. So you can see the base in XAI components, base. Yeah. And we have Dynalist and secret. Which we use in a very strange way. Let me double check my secret implementation here. Okay, yeah, I have the same thing. I changed that. This is another one, another change that I want to do eventually to the subgraph executor. So it allows you to do some special things between executing subgraphs. I'm not sure it's super useful. I implemented it for something, but then didn't use it. Yeah, I'll leave that out for now because we didn't really use it for that use case. Or I think I did, but it didn't matter. Now let me check the converse. I think it was in converse where I used that. So stream partial. Yeah. And then in here, I didn't do that. It might be something that we add to Converse later. So essentially, the idea is that I would like it to stream the partial response immediately. But it currently doesn't happen immediately. It kind of happens after it's done, which is not what I want. And the way to fix that is to have some kind of method that's called earlier than the very end. But this didn't work, so I think I'm not going to do that right now. Okay, cool. So that's that, and I think that that's ready to go. So I will ping. I need to essentially add that in here as a submodule. If Frieza could do that, that'd be great. Just add agents as a submodule in here because it's ready to go in the current state. Okay, cool. The other interesting thing happening in Circuits Land, which I want to try, is the Circuits chat assistant. So the thing I like about this idea is essentially, I'm kind of thinking that this is the way programming will be like in the future. And before everybody leaves, I want you to hear me out. So what I mean is that right now, all programming is text. And you have to be very specific, and you got to make sure your indents are correct and your braces are like, all that stuff. And I think future people will not have the patience to do that kind of stuff. Instead, what they want to do is have an interface, maybe not like this, but like some interface where they can explain what they want. Then a chat pops up, and so if I say, for example, I want a component, like I want a component that gets me the current time in UTC. and then the chat will respond, like the bot, the agent will respond, and there'll be a nice box here called get current time, and I drag that from there in here, right? That's what I want to do. We're a little bit far away from that right now, but kind of I feel like that's the future, is be like, instead of chatting, it will be voice, and I can talk to the agent, say, so right now we have this problem where I need to do something, and I'll be like, oh, well, I think we can do that with this component. It pops up this component, I can drag it in there, and it would be a little bit smarter than it is right now. So like if I, so for example, in where's some utils? Right? In Unreal Engine, if I drag a component into this line, it kind of splices into it. We don't do that, but that would be what you want, right? So like you'd be like, okay, that's perfect. That's what I need. And then you drag it in there, drop it on the line, and then it's right in that line. And then you'd be like, okay, let's run this, right? Or even before you run it, like the agent can do so much more than just build you these components. It can build you an entire test suite for that component every time it generates a component, and be running it in the background. So not only do you have like a component, but a tested, kind of properly documented, very flexible component every single time, and then you just drag that in there and put that into the thing. And then if you have a bug, you say, oh, this get current time that you made, or this component has a problem. It's doing GMT and we want UTC, right? Or something. I don't know what we want, but maybe we want to change the thing. And it'd be like, okay, I've updated the code, right? Because it knows that this is here. It knows how to open the script, and then it can read this code and fix it or change it as you want, right? So that's where we're going. And the first step is the circuits chat assistant. And that would be great when it is done. But for now, we gotta do things manually, the hard way. But yeah, I think that's actually that's real cool. Like in Japan, there's this concept of the fifth generation language. Right, 5GL languages. And this kind of was a government thing that never happened. And I think a lot of people are thinking that now with LLMs, there's going to be a programming language that has LLMs built into it. And yeah, for me, it's like, yes, but if we're still writing text at the end of the day, I think that's weird, right? It's like, yeah, something like this, I think, makes more sense to me about being a more next generation programming environment. So that's what we're gonna do. Okay, let me grab these and put that in here. Okay, and let's test this example with the Vertex AI side of things. So let's get rid of that. We still need OpenAI authorize because the NumPy memory uses that. So we'll still need that. But I think I have Vertex. Ooh, I don't have the Vertex things, and I don't have it installable here. I think I'm a couple of versions behind. But Google Vertex AI is here, so I can just clone this and use public. Okay, so if I go to back here and get clone that, that's XAI, Google Vertex AI. Install requirements.txt. -R. So usually people will use the circuits install command for that. Freezer brings up a good point. We have actors, agent, and now we have GPT, or we have the GPT agent toolkit. So this is like the OG one, and it's not really that good. It's more like an experiment, right? Like this doesn't it often doesn't do anything. And we also have HF agent, which I don't think is public. Was it public? We could have public. We should get rid of HF agent because it doesn't run anymore, I think. So these are Hugging Face agents, and in the latest version of Hugging Face, they don't run. They've changed stuff or they've broken stuff and they don't really care about it. So it doesn't really work anymore. But is kind of, yeah, it has a similar kind of thing to the tool. So I would say our agents are inspired mostly by the Hugging Face agents, because they were quite useful when they worked, right? And so that's why we're doing it that way and just expanding it. But they kind of don't work, and so we should probably get rid of HF agent if it's in there. But yeah, I did have this weird idea when it comes to GPT agent toolkit. So I was kind of thinking that agent provider could be a circuits file. So if instead of OpenAI, I said baby AGI.circuits, it would be kind of cool if this would then, somehow use a GPT agent toolkit built agent as the implementation. It doesn't do that right now, but that's kind of what I'm thinking. That's kind of what I'm thinking about going like in that direction, so that you could use the GPT agent toolkit to build a specific agent, maybe one that's a little bit more advanced. But there's different issues with putting these two together right now, mainly in terms of memory, right? Because this has NumPy memory, agent also has NumPy memory. They're kind of used differently, so yeah, it's kind of a problem. I'll figure that out later. Okay, cool. So we did that. Let's refresh and then get access to the Google Vertex AI components. We want to authorize. And I have done this before. Can't remember how. Let me check. I think I had this running on the old platform. Let's bring up the old platform. Okay. And I think I had a file here that I need to use. So this is a test thing. Yeah, something like that. Google auth2.json from m false. Okay, so I want to do something along these lines. So let's do that here. My project is called Agent Platform Dev. Okay. And then I don't have an API key. I couldn't even figure out how to get the API key to work. The Google documentation is absolutely terrible. It's got API key location. I have the feeling I need to update this to whatever it is I have here to get it to work correctly. That would not surprise me. Yeah, let's do that. Reload. we need to reload here first. Let's reload here. I can reload this. Okay, we got API key location. And I don't have a Google Auth in here, right? But I have one in here. Google Auth 2, so let me download that. Go here and upload that. And this stuff will all be much easier when the integration is done, right? Like this stuff is stuff you should be doing in this page, right? And that's not working at the moment for me. Okay, so we have this Google Auth 2 JSONs. And we'll just add that. Data home Google Auth 2.json. From end is false, and the location I used here was what? I didn't specify. I don't think we need to specify. Okay, so with that, Vertex is good, and then the model needs to be, what did I specify for the model? Agent init is here. Vertex and GPT3.5 16K. That's definitely not it. I think we'll do Gemini Pro. Okay, let's see where we're at here. Let's close that and run it. Vertex AI is not supported. That's true. I think I had a check in there, so let's fix that. So agent init. Let me just double check. In this version, init, all it changed was that check, right? Yeah, just remove that check. You just want or. And so if the agent is not that, or agent provided value is not equal to that, then we raise the exception. Right? It is midnight. Yeah. Okay, so let's go back here. Agent example, save, compile, and run it. Ooh, this is still Holdabot. That's not good. We don't want that. We don't want that. TimeBot. Oh, and this incredible time that it takes, that's Google authorizing. It takes like 0.5 seconds or something like that, right? In OpenAI, takes significant amount of time in the Google world to do the authorization. So yeah, if you have that running as a Lambda function, ooh, you're screwed there. Okay, so this is TimeBot, Vertex, and Gemini Pro. Let's look at the agent components again. Agent init. So if the provider is not, and the provider is not. So this has to be false and false to be true. That's right. Let's see if that's working. What is the Google authorization doing? It is significant. It's like super significant. Okay, so that's on me. That's on me. I totally haven't debugged that one as well as the OpenAI one. But because we got that error, Gemini Pro is, it's trying to do something. So that's good. Let's merge the two. I don't think there's any real difference between these, so we should just get rid of any difference if there is a difference. Yeah, copy that. There really shouldn't be any difference between these two. And what that means is that this should be a function, right? That there's no reason to split these out. Let's try it anyway. I mean, in theory, right? But like there is some things where the way that Gemini works might be a little bit different. But in general, like the idea is, oh, that's right. That's where it's different. Those differences are why we can't have nice things. Can't have nice things because it's shit like that. So let's do this. Okay, so with Vertex AI, it returns dictionaries. That's the difference. We want to do this, but instead of response content, it needs to be response content, like that. Okay, and then we do that here too. And where else do we use response in here? Might be good. Content. Yeah, that's essentially what it is. Stress level 1.5 max. Is that the same? Yeah, I think that was all the same. Okay. Yeah, and this stuff, like I was mentioning about GPT Toolkit, like stuff needs to be not hard coded, I think. But for the normal people who just want something that's working, there should be like a default that works. And then if you see that it doesn't work and you need it to work differently, then you should be doing something else. Okay. Okay, Gemini, thanks for doing it the maximum number of times. A little weird. Yeah, so Gemini Pro does understand it. That's good. But it kept going. I don't know if that's correct. Kept going. I'm not sure if that was Gemini's fault or my fault. So let's do that again. Because I have a feeling it was my fault. As in Gemini probably outputs in a different way, and I cleaned that up previously. Yeah, so it's calling get current time over and over again. If we look at this thing, can I pretty print it instead? That would be kind of nicer for me. Let's do that. Okay. Okay, so we have the system prompt and current time in California, get current time, assistant, content. I see. So the problem is Gemini Pro is spitting out the example as is. All right, so that's what the content, that's what the assistant has responded with. And system responds properly. And then Gemini does the same thing again. That's weird. Gemini, is it doing it that way? I mean, that's what it looks like. Saying tool get current time, and then it's outputting the system. It's not the actual system response. It's just saying system. Assistant. Let's put this like so. I think that will make it understand a little bit better. Yeah. AGI achieved, right, guys? AGI achieved. I mean, granted, OpenAI does have like GPT-4 got it, right? GPT 3.5 not so much. But then you kind of run into like really simple stuff like this. Yeah, it's doing it again. Why is it doing it? Then it's doing it correctly until the end. And I think I programmed the end incorrectly. This needs to go +1, which it is here. So on OpenAI, if that is equal to less than, and then if we reach max thoughts, you need to tell it that it has reached max thoughts. Then it does the Gemini Pro. Oh, okay. And I've hard-coded Gemini Pro. That is not the intention. What we want is model name here. Okay. And then here we're using user like so. Let's use user this way. And I don't want it to hallucinate this system, nor the user, nor itself. Yeah, I have the feeling that will work. Could be wrong. Well, let's give it a shot. So the difference between like Gemini Pro and ChatGPT is this chat interface. And then Gemini Pro is more like a language model. So you kind of have to do this stuff yourself. Which is not ideal. Okay. So system, current time in California, tool get current time assistant. System responds correctly, and then assistant again says get current time. Maybe the temperature needs to be bumped up. You could try that. I mean, I'm not sure if that will work. Okay, so it seemed to work. So that's another interesting thing when it comes to temperature, right? So ideally, we kind of want temperature to be 0 because we want the agent to always respond the same way. But when you have a really low temperature, the agent might repeat itself more. And there's another thing about like a repeating penalty, right? And so and that's another thing that it just needs to go away. Like it's an LLM thing, but you know, like if I tell it that I want it to make like a Tetris board or something, or like a table, there's going to be a lot of repeating things in there. But if you have a repeat penalty, it won't be able to respond in that way. And so you kind of want your repeat penalty to be low. But if your repeat penalty is low, the models will tend to repeat themselves. They like to do that. Since there was no repeat penalty here, or there might be, I just don't know it, and I'm not gonna look. It's just stupid to go through the Vertex AI things. Essentially, because the temperature was low, it kind of had a really high score for just saying tool over and over again, and then just do that. Yeah, so now we have the right thing. It is currently 7:42 a.m. in California, so it was able to do the math correctly, I'm assuming. Let's see. Pacific time should be, what time is it right now? Yeah, 7:45 in California, so yeah, it's got the math right. It doesn't need like a calculator tool or anything like that, which is good. So Gemini Pro it's interesting how capable it can sometimes be. That's good. It's definitely better than 3.5, I guess, in that case. Okay, so let's take these fixes, apply them to the agent component, see what we're dealing with. Okay, so I created that, yes. I added the max thoughts thing. And I think that's it. And then the stop sequences. I'm not sure I like the stop sequences like that. Let me get back here. Okay, so let's put user colon assistant colon system colon and assistant colon. Let's do something. It's quite common for there to be 1, 2 new lines and then assistant, right? So let's do that. Okay, and then in agent components, we're going to have those top things. We want that to be then we'll put new line system. So what that means is if it's referring, like it could say, oh, last time I received this message, user colon something something, and it doesn't stop, right? Because that's part of the thing. But if it has a new line and it says user in the first section, then we know it's now hallucinating user or system or something like that. We want it to stop doing what it's doing at that point. I think this will work, and I would prefer it works that way. Get tool output system. Time 747, Martin. Cool. So that worked. That's exactly what I kind of want it to do. I'm not going to update the example because I'm going to leave the example as being OpenAI, as that is easier for everyone to do. Like getting the Google authentication, that is a non-trivial thing. It is non-trivial. So it'll be easiest for everyone to use that or the ExpressAI provider when that is available. But it's not available yet, so let's get rid of that. Okay, let's put this back into VS Code. Let's look at the diff. That is more like it. Pixels, Vertex AI. Okay, cool. So now that that is done, let's go here real quick, Vertex AI components, and edit that in place and update it with whatever I have here. Okay, let's commit those changes. Make a new branch and pull request for that. So let's see, I did the service account and the AI platform update. Change that to secret. Or no, API key location is a string. That makes sense. You can't specify an API key. You have to specify a location for it. And that works. Okay, so that looks good to me because it's myself. Oh, I can't approve my own pull request. Someone else will have to do it. Okay, let's go to agent, which has the fix for Vertex AI, and let's publish. Change to public. I don't use those passkeys, but let's use my thing. YubiKey. There we go. We are good to go. We have the public AI agent library, so now we should be able to use that. and you should be able to see it and install it and play with it. If there's any issues, let us know. Cool. What else? What else do we need to polish on the platform? I think maybe you want to do the same thing to Converse. Converse is also here. That is also private. And it doesn't necessarily need to be private, but it could use a little bit of love. And also there's a very special thing about Converse. It doesn't have public in here, and it needs it. So for the keen-eyed among you, you might have noticed there's a public folder in here, and it has Technologic in it. So Converse, the library that we use to do the agents here, it has essentially Technologic built in, right? Our power user kind of chat system, also open source. We're gonna see what's causing this freezing thing to happen. And it's not part of this, so there's no way to we don't have a way in the PyProject TOML to install a whole directory, right? We could put it in here. And then yeah, okay, we could possibly do that. Yeah, we could possibly do something like that. Something like a move into Express AI. Do we have that? I already have XA Converse. No, it's component leader. Converse. Oh, I mean XAI. Okay. Converse. Cool. Let's make sure we're up to date. Should be. Okay, so we do tar czvf public.tar.gz public. A public tarball in the entire Linux state that we want. It might not be the first one. Yeah, let's download that. And it's not the first time I've had one of those around. And then let's copy this thing in here. And then it's tars xvf public. Okay, so we have this public with a bunch of stuff. Don't think these are relevant, nor are these. So I should be able to delete those. This is also irrelevant. And then Technologic is the main thing that we want, and that has everything. Favicon should be fine. So we'll open up Technologic, and then we have this thing there. Okay, so I think that's mostly what we want. And then the Converse components, let me open those up here. This should be the latest one. 7 days ago, this one published yesterday. Converse components. The git diff. What's the difference? There's some new lines. Old one had these things not indented. This one does. Okay. Let's get to that. Let's go back to this thing. Open this up. Let's clean this up a little bit. So let's get rid of the things we don't use. Never use response. Weird that we don't. No, let's leave those in there. Actually, let's leave everything in here. So the reason why we've got to be careful is that, so VS Code says that we never use this, but this component execs stuff, right? And so it might be using it in here, but we don't know. So it's definitely not a good idea to do these quick fixes, because I know it uses request for sure. Now, if we use path, I don't think so. So we should be able to get rid of path, right? Glob. I'm pretty sure we don't use glob or shutil. Yeah, so those are fine to remove. But for example, response, that is totally used. Yeah, see, it's used here in this thing, so we totally use that. We don't want to remove that stuff. I'll just leave that as is for the rest. Do we not use subgraph? No, I think we do, so we'll just leave that in there. Okay, and then we have our routes for Technologic, which should be the same. Now, the difference is the static folder being public. It can be XAI components, XAI converse public. I believe that will work. Could be wrong, but I think it'll work. Yeah, I think that will work. Okay, git status, we have git add converse components, git add public. And then in there and git push origin name. Okay, I don't know what I did wrong there. That doesn't matter. Okay, so now that this is good, should be able to publish this one as well. So let's do the same thing. Change visibility, make it public. And I'm not sure if I need my YubiKey again. Yeah, you don't need it again. Okay, cool. Okay, Converse is now public. We should have everything we need to give everyone who signs up for the ExpressAI beta platform everything they need to create agents, as in these agents, and talk to them. And so you can like chat with them in here. And it should work all just fine. So that's good. One thing I was thinking of doing is messing with control flow. Okay, so this is another, like kind of polishing thing that we need to do. So if I create a new circuits file and we do some control flow stuff, right, like a branch component. So there's a condition, right? And so the condition, you kind of have like no good thing for it other than get a variable, right? I mean, we have a comparison component, that's kind of what it's for. But comparison component is kind of limited. You have to put, so for example, let's use it and show, so that we can be playing around with something that's actually working. So when true, I want to print, I don't know, yes, right? And then when false, I want to, why does it do that sometimes? Okay, and then when it's, oh, because maybe I have something selected. Oh, I see. Okay, when it's false, we want to print, no, or something like that. Move that there. So, okay, so we have this branch where we can have a true case and a false case. Pretty simple. And then at the end, we will finish. Okay, and for this, we're going to have A as number 5, right? And B as the number 10. And the operation will be less than. Right, and then this condition should go in here. We compared, we branch, save, we run. We should see yay or yes or whatever. Yes, we see yes. That's good. This kind of sucks, I think. You're kind of like limited to a couple things. So let's make a better one. So Unreal Engine has like a whole math component thing. And I want to try something similar. Now this is using eval, and we're going to be using eval too. But I want it to be more flexible than what we have here. So we'll need a Dyna list, right? And then the comparison component, and then make a new one. Expression. So let's make a something like that. And it's going to take expression as an in complement compulsory argument, as a string. Then it's going to take args as an in comp arg. Yeah, maybe in arg dynalist. Could be that you want to have a constant expression, so maybe you have no args. So I think that makes sense. Okay, now for this, this could be a little tricky, right? The eval stuff, but let's do the simple case, right? We want to, oh, and then we have args as the int, and then the out is the out arg bool. Right? So self out dot value is equal to eval expression, then locals if I say args is equal to self dot args dot value, and I do that, will that work? Let's see. Only one way to find out. Let's get rid of that comparison component. Let's refresh. Eval Boolean expression. So the cool thing about this is that we can do more than just two, right? If I wanted, or not that one, let me put a literal integer here and say 7, something like that. My expression could be that args 0 is less than args 1, and args 0 is less than args 2. And then if I hook up 5 in here, I have args 0, 1, and 2. So 5 is both less than 10 and less than 7. So if this works, we should expect yes or an error if it's wrong. Being expression is not defined. Yeah, that makes sense because I didn't use self dot expression dot value, self dot expression dot value. There we go. Kind of important. Eval takes no keyword arguments. Okay, so eval is not exec. That makes sense. So we start with result equals false. And then we use exec result equals plus self.expression.value. And locals and globals. Exec, I think, returns none. And then we set that to result. Is false correct or is none correct? I think I don't like dealing with nulls, so I'm going to use false as the default. So run that, see what we get. Locals is an invalid keyword argument for exec. Function. Not remember things, globals, and locals. So 1, it's backwards. 2, it doesn't take keyword arguments. Okay, makes sense. So we need to put globals of locals. And maybe we can be a little bit more strict than this. That's perfectly fine. Although the idea is kind of to be as flexible. We want this to be pretty flexible. So okay, arg0 is less than args1, and arg0 is less than args2. 5 is less than 10 and less than 7, so that should not be no, it should be yes. So I think that didn't work. Essentially what happened. Yeah, so if this is true, we will essentially have the same result. Yeah, exactly. Exec runs differently, or actually, yeah, we can run it like this. We have our locals and globals like so. So that should work just fine. You don't need to extract anything. Okay, that tells us nothing because we didn't change the thing. Let's go back here. Okay, no, that we don't have a default anymore, so that's true. Okay, so now if I update this to be greater than args1 or less than args2, right? Let's run that. You have a no. Yep, makes sense. But if it is, so we want something that's greater than 10, like 11, and less than 20. Let's run it. Save and run. Yes. Okay. But is 22 less than whatever? No. Okay, cool. So that actually works. Let's do some strings. Okay, so let's say args0 starts with foo. That's what I want. And I need a literal string bar. No. Then we do foo bar. Yes. Okay. Cool. So that is a lot more flexible. A lot more flexible. Let's double check that works with concat string. Okay, so let's do foo and bar. Then we're going to evaluate that as arg0. We expect that to be yes. In arg has no attribute starts with. Okay, so that's a bother. But it does work if I say arg0 dot value starts with foo. And we might just deal with that for now. Yeah, arg0.value, that's technically correct. What we kind of want is that even literals do that. So it's true that that's kind of annoying. We could kind of fix it in there by calling value on everything. So if we do something like args is equal to the list of arg dot value if for self dot args dot value yeah, it's a little hard to do in the thing. So we like for arg in args if has attr value then args dot append arg dot value else args dot append arg. Okay. And if we do it this way, okay, we compiled everything. Index is out of range. Yes, self.args.value. There we go. Let's run. Okay. Cool. Starts with bar. Run, save and run. Oops. No. Okay, cool. So I like that. I like that better. arg0 starts with args1. We can write something like that. If we run it like this, we get index out of range. Yep. And then if I create a literal string that says foo, we hook that up to that. This index is out of range. Why? Oh, it's not connected. Why is it not connected? Did I not connect it just now? There you go. Oh, yes, sweet. Okay, so we have that. I like that. It has exec, so it's extra evil. Since I'm a man of the dark side, that is the way to go. Now, should we remove this misspelled comparison component? I might propose that as well. Might propose that as well. Then the other thing was that the variables being in control flow, that's a little weird. for branch components. So that could be good. This should be component library change and a new feature. There's no tests, so we'll just get rid of that. And that's not really relevant. Okay. And it is true that none of these have explanations, so yeah, we should probably add that in there. Another thing is has adder. Like every time we have a base component, we should be checking has adder. So that would, happen in all of these things. This one has it for each as next, but this one does not. So essentially, it's possible to have a loop component that has a body but doesn't have a next, right? So like that's the last step in the thing. So this should not just be calling self.next, but just like this, it should check if it has next and then call it. Arguable if we need to check that body has adder. Because if you have nothing in your loop, maybe that should be an error. I mean, it's not the case for branch, like, you might want to have only one true and one false, but if you have like a loop and it has nothing in it, no body at all, I mean, technically, I guess it's fine, like from a programming perspective. Yeah, I think it's probably worth the check just because it could be that I just disconnected it temporarily. So yeah, maybe we want to have an has adder for body as well as next and loop component. Yeah, that's kind of cool. You can see your changes in the binder later. Okay, so that is pretty much the different polishes I want. If anyone has any questions, let me know. I can answer them here. Is there anything else? Agents. Actors, I don't think we'll have actors by default. Like, it's kind of fine to have actors, but there's two things. One, this should be made with start events. Right, so like define actors should not have an input port. We should make it kind of like more static that way. I mean, I guess you could have a very dynamic system where maybe you create an actor in response to something, but we actually probably want a spawn actor. There's like, you can define and tell, but you can't spawn an actor. So this needs work still, so I think we shouldn't have that by default. Bedrock, I think we have AWS Bedrock in there, so that's fine. The crawler, I'm not so sure about. Maybe, I think it might be good, but maybe not in the first iteration. It's quite powerful, I guess, but also very incomplete in the current state. Yeah, I haven't published crawler yet. It works, but you know, like it only has like a fraction of the things that you can do with Beautiful Soup. So I think we would probably want to finish that up first before we deploy it. Google Cloud Storage. Do we have Google Cloud Storage? No, we don't. Yeah, Google Cloud Storage. I think I just had. This is 100% AI generated. I don't think I looked at any of this stuff. Yeah, I think I added this and that's it. Yeah, we have Google Drive and GSpread, but we don't have Google Cloud Storage. I mean, I guess we can make this. And we should probably have S3 as well. Like, well, technically, I think you can upload S3 straight from Spark. Like, it could be wrong. But anyway, let's create an XAI. Cloud storage, circuits, components, or Google Cloud Storage. Let's make it public from the start. It's not particularly interesting. Let's do any default stuff, MIT license, which is what we pretty much use for all the component libraries. Let me copy that. Find a terminal. Okay, so what we need to do is pull this out into here. Call this GCS components .py. Paste. We need an init .py. And now we need a py project.toml. And I'll copy that py project toml from here. That's Converse. Okay, so this is XAI Google Cloud Storage for uploading and downloading. Uploading and downloading files to and from Google Storage. Perfectly fine. Google Storage, great. Circuits, maybe Google Cloud or something like that as a keyword. I don't think I'll deal with the thing. Now, I do believe I had a requirements.txt. That's Converse again. That's XAI agent. Converse Google Cloud. Okay. And then we'll make a requirements.txt. It has that one line in it. That's everything. And then we'll just follow the we cloned it, so that's everything we need. And I'll just start closing these things because I'm losing my mind getting these things. Okay, cool. Git status. We want to git add everything here. Push the main. Okay, cool. So now we have the Google Cloud Storage library. And I'm sure that upload and get public URL works. I'm not sure about everything else. But pull requests welcome, I think. That makes sense for that. Yeah, what else? What else can we do? We haven't played around with GSpread in a long time. Interactive brokers. Do I want to publish that one? I could maybe publish that. Interactive brokers and then technical analysis. Well, I'm not really happy with technical analysis. So there's like technical analysis, you can make strategy, right? I think it's not great. Yeah, this is, I'm not sure. Technical analysis is quite complicated. And then I guess interactive brokers is kind of fine. But it only makes sense like locally, right? That's the main thing. So if you're running circuits locally, having the interactive brokers is a great way to do some trading. But you need to connect it to your interactive brokers, and that's kind of like local. So I guess like the story isn't really there. I'm not sure we'd want to do that. Unless people really want it. So printing library. Yeah, the printing library is just marked down to PDF. Yeah, it's a very simple one. Very simple. And I think this is not necessary. And also, if I'm not mistaken, this was actually non-trivial because of the font issue. So I tried doing this where it would like download the font from a CDN so that I could have a font that is able to print Japanese. This does not work. This whole kind of CSS thing, this doesn't work. So this is no good. It is possible to have custom CSSs, but the way to do that, so that's for the report generator bot. If you look here, I have an apt install command before the bot. This is how you add fonts. And so I don't want to put that in there because this part's a little weird. So I think I'd prefer it to be like, not there by default. Just we have things that are simple by default. So like things where you need to start up a server like RabbitMQ. No, not so much sklearn. It's kind of like a little weird. Llama index is kind of half done and probably broken if you install the latest version because they keep changing the APIs. So I think that's mostly it. I mean, maybe I do think it's kind of it would be nicer if we had gdocs and gpresentation instead of just gspread, but also it's not super necessary right now. The Gmail components. Do we have the Gmail components published? We do not. I'll think about it. Yeah, and one of the problems with Gmail unreceived message, if I'm not mistaken, is it was called twice, and I was not sure why. And the setup for this was quite involved. You needed to make a Google Pub sub and register it correctly. So to make this Gmail component, we'd have to like have a whole README on how to set it up, similar to how we have the READMEs for Slack and Discord. So that's fine. Did we have? I think I added is none and is not none. I think I did do that. Double check. So circuits, components, control flow, branches. Yeah, I think I added that. And these are quite convenient because sometimes you just want to know if something is none or not. So having an is none and is not none added. Simple component to check if the input is none or not. Okay, let's do that. This is a component library thing. And a new feature. Don't need those tests. Okay, and had mutable variables and those in there. Moving that out of branches is maybe a thing that we should probably do. It's kind of like legacy. When I did the live stream, I was working on branches, and that's when I created the variables, so that's why it's in here. But variables are not necessarily related to control flow. They're just kind of convenient for having a branch and then setting a variable here and then getting access to that in the branch, right? So yeah, I think that's pretty much it. I think that's all I'm going to do there. What else? File changed. I guess let's not deal with that. Okay, cool. What else can we do that would make the lives of new users easy? Yeah, maybe you can make the circuits agent. It's kind of 2 a.m., but it's kind of easy to make this kind of agent. So if you want to make an agent, right, like this, main thing you need is Converse. So for Converse, you make the server, Right, and this one will be a public one. You define the agent, right? So we'll make an agent called CircuitsBot. And then when there's a message, this branch will run. And when you've finished defining the agent, this branch will run. Yeah, and I think we just do agent run like this. Let's put on debug mode for now. And finish that. Then ahead of the start, let's add OpenAI. That's what we're going to do for this one in particular. And let's add that API key and make sure from is explicitly not. Okay. Cool. And then on message, we do some agent things. So essentially, to make the most simple Converse agent, or like the Converse kind of chatbot, what you need to do eventually is Converse respond. Maybe stream respond, right? So we show it in action. So you can do something like, oh, this needs to be a thing. It needs, since it's stream respond and stuff like that, there needs to be a whole thing. So let's do that. Let's see if I can get it to stop. Okay, so luckily we have in the agent framework an agent string to string to or stream string response. So if I do this, and then I just say something like, hi, how can I help you? Something like that. That's the simplest thing. Let's rename this from untitled to CircuitsBot. Okay, and compile it. Cool. Now in the platform, go to agents, and then I can do CircuitsBot Python CircuitsBot.py default port. Start the agent and see the logs. Shouldn't take too long to start. But of course, things are kind of like under construction right now. Okay, cool. So that's running. And if I open up this, we now have that. Now I called it CircuitsBot, so I need to edit this, add a model called CircuitsBot. Let me set that as the default for this particular thing and set that to be used. Cool. So if I say hi, it says hi, how can I help you, right? And it's always going to say that, right? So yo. So keep saying the same thing because it's kind of hard coded to just always say the same thing, right? So that's the bare minimum. And I think it's not too bad, right? Like you have your make server, define agent, and you have whatever happens when the agent is spoken to, you respond appropriately, and then you just run the server, right? So 3 components, quite simple. Now, if we wanted to do this with OpenAI, we can make a simple thing. So if we do, or I think maybe, yeah, let's do OpenAI. Maybe we'll do, I'll check with Vertex AI later, since it should be the same thing essentially. So we can get rid of this and do stream chat because we have the OpenAI stream chat. So on message, we will go use GPT 3.5 Turbo. Right. System prompt, we say you are Zybobot, a helpful assistant for people, or I said CircuitSpot, right? Should be consistent with the name. CircuitSpot. Assistant, people using circuits to build AI agents. Use your knowledge of circuits to answer their questions. Now, an interesting thing is, I think GPT 3.5 does not know about circuits. GPT-4 does, but we'll fix that later. Now, the user prompt, that will come from message. Just put that in there. We don't need the conversation. Max tokens, let's give it, I don't know, 1,000 characters to respond, since it might be saying, it might be explaining a lot. Temperature will leave this default. And then we connect that to the response. Let's save and compile that. And then now, if I say, how do I make a circuits component? Yeah, it makes up a bunch of shit. Yeah, thanks. You're not very useful. You're not very useful, GPT-5. Let's get your bigger brother here. Like, let's get, the guy who knows what he's talking about. Favorite son. Let's reload that. Okay, yeah, got a set Python environment. Circuit component. Why? So close. But it doesn't matter, right? Like, this kind of stuff is normal. It kind of has maybe a high temperature. Doesn't matter. But yeah, so I made a custom bot, right? So this is essentially a GPT, right? In the simplest sense, and I can make it even better of a GPT by making an agent. So let's keep this literal string here, or not. Let's do it the correct way. There we go. Let's get rid of this. And instead define an agent. So let's move this back here and use our agent library. So we need, let's make NumPy memory based one, because I don't think we'll need anything particularly special. We'll make the tool belt the default one, and then we'll init our agent. Again, if anyone has any questions, feel free to ask around. I've been streaming for a few hours, so I've kind of explained a couple things a couple of times, but there are newer people joining, so if you are wondering something, just let me know. There's probably other people wondering as well. Okay, so let's create this CircuitSpot agent. Right? Of course, you can, again, have multiple agents that have multiple tool belts, so they can talk to each other or use each other. That's perfectly fine. We'll use OpenAI as the provider. And we'll use GPT 3.5 Turbo here, because we're going to give it some tools to use. So you are CircuitSpot. Actually, let's steal this thing. Grab that and put that in here. Okay, so we need to tell it how to use tools. So tool instructions, and then tools. Okay, and let's give it some examples. So sample user, how do I make a input required in a component? Pretty simple, possible question that a user might have. I want assistant to tool documentation lookup required input components. Actually, let's double check that that actually kind of works. Let's go into the docs. I think we have a vector search, right? General components. Do we mention it anywhere in our docs? We might not. Probably worth mentioning it. Node port logic, flow ports, compulsory ports, in comp arg. There needs to be a capital I. If I'm in here and I search for node port and logic, port logic. Yeah, I'll do that as the example, right? It's going to search for node port and link logic. Then system will respond with some JSON, and I will make it be something like this. Then you want assistant to respond to that, saying something like, you can specify. Wait, that didn't have the compulsory thing. Where's the compulsory thing you mentioned again? Here we go. Compulsory ports. Actually, let's specify the entire thing. It's going to be something like that. Then we just put that as what system says. Right, just big lava thing. It's GPT 3.5, so we have something. Specify a compulsory required, because he says required in the question, right? We specify a port as required by annotating the port with in comp arg, like the following, right? And then to give GPT 3.5 a chance of getting this right, I'm going to maybe make a simple thing, maybe in utils. It's a good one. Let's specify something simple like Python, then XAI component. Let's add the imports, because in general, we want your examples to have the imports. So XAI component, and then class concat string component. Then I'll have in A as an in comp arg stir, and B as an in comp arg stir. Out is an out arg of stir, and then we'll have def execute self ctx self.in_a.value plus self.in_b.value. is equal to self.out.value. There you go. Cool. The only ones it needs are that. Out arg, income arg, and component. I think that's everything that it would need. And then for GPT-3.5 to feel like it's being GPT-3.5, it needs to explain the obvious. Like in this example, you can see that in A and in B are marked with incomp arg str, and therefore show up with a star in the circuit's canvas. Cool. So if it says something like that, that would be amazing, right? Okay, cool. So after we have initted the agent, let's make sure to connect that properly. Now on message, I'm going to agent run. This would be the circuit spot. Conversation comes from there. And on thought, we'll print that because we want to see that. Okay. And then when it is done, we want agent string response, put that in there. And put the response stream in there. Yeah, I think that's pretty much all we need to do for that. And then the thing is to implement that tool. So we called this tool in here. Documentation lookup. So let's go into agent and define a tool called documentation lookup, and then this will search the circuits documentation. With the query string. Okay, tool belt default is fine. Then we want to do Vecto client, then Vecto lookup. Something like that. The tool input goes into the query. Modality should be text because that's what we're looking at. And top K, I don't know, let's have the top 3 results or something along those lines. Then we will make a JSON string of this object, and then do agent tool output and just like paste that in there. So it's definitely different than what it's expecting, but something along those lines. Now, for this, we'll need Vecto API key. Add mine in there, like so. And vector space ID, let's create one, shall we? Okay, let's go to data, create a simple space that has just a couple of things. Because I don't think I have, like, our docs are there. So actually, that's a good question. Vecto docs.circuits. We're kind of like using this, but I think we can see that. right? Circuits, IO, right? This should all be perfect. Then we have our config. And then we had the public key and vector space ID here. And those are configured in the secrets, which I no longer can see. Huh. Yeah, I need the vector space ID and then the key for it, right? So I need the key and the vector space ID for that, for the documentation. But yeah, with that, it has everything that it needs to use search, and it can search multiple times. Like that's the thing. If it searches for something, doesn't find it, it can try something else and do that too. But that's pretty much it, right? Init, run, define. I make tool belt, init, run. And it also has this memory. So if it feels like, I mean, I guess we need to give it some examples of kind of making a note of something that it has learned itself. But yeah, it could totally do that. So let's see, am I able to find that? It is in here. You need process and vector public token and vector space ID. Do I have that in my expressai.io? No, I don't have a .mvin there. And it's not old enough to have one. I do think you can like get it out of the thing. Circuits IO. If you try hard enough, I think you can find it somewhere in here. Might be really hard to find. A lot harder than I was expecting. I mean, it is a public key, right? So it's like, if you know what you're doing, you'll be fine. Maybe I can just like look at the network. Okay, so if I search for nodes and ports, we do a search. Oh, did we implement it server side? Or maybe not. Maybe we can access. Okay, so I think if I'm not, okay, we got the information we need. Okay, cool. So we don't need to hack it. We just get it the old-fashioned way. Okay, so if I'm not mistaken, we can use this as the key, and then vector space ID should be 2844776. Cool. We got the circuits bot. Okay, so now let's make circuit bot. We already have that. Should have restarted, I think. And a new tab. Hi, what can you do? Or I think I need to start a new conversation. It's just a weird bug. What can you do? It's in default. Didn't I just set this up? Maybe I forgot. Express AI, change it. Circuits bot. Let's save, set that as the default. Make sure to use that. And we do. And we can also look at the logs to make sure, see what it's doing. Tool instructions. I was an idiot. I think it was tool instruction. If I'm not mistaken. Yeah, tool instruction. Okay, so did that. Save, recompile it. Now let's go back to the logs, make sure that it has restarted. It has. Now if I do this, give it a second to initialize into NumType max thoughts. Ooh, did I forget to set the max thoughts? I might have. Yes, that is important. It is. Let's put 10. Oh, that's an interesting bug in the component library. It is not marked as required, but it is required because it will crash and burn if you don't specify. So probably worth making that have a default. Although, like, what is the right max thoughts default? It's a little subjective. Okay, how can I make a new component? So it is doing some stuff. Okay, kind of knows more or less what to do. I don't think it used the tool because I gave it an example of what it needs to do. And you can see for sure because it has incomp arm. Self out result.value, input data is in data.value. Yeah, so that is correct. And what I would like to do is that if it outputs something like this, and you're here, right, and that output is somewhere in here, I can just drag that component and plop it into the canvas. That would be so cool. So cool if I can do that. And we will be working on that very soon. But yeah, cool. Now there's a circuit spot about Express AI that anyone can use, and it may or may not work. I did it in like 5 minutes. Let's see, what else can we get from the documentation? All right, let's ask how to install. How can I install circuits? Let's see. No. Stop making stuff up. God damn it. I'm gonna have to probably do GPT-4 again. It's like GPT-3.5 is like it's a stupid one. I mean, it's correct, right? Like it knows this already, so that's why that's good. But I kind of want it to, like use that whole documentation that it has access to, right? Let's see, what can we do here? What if I ask it what kind of components are available by default? What components are available by default? I don't think you searched. I'm pretty sure it didn't search. Let's double check these logs. Oh, okay. It did do a search for default components. If I do a search for default components, what do I get? I think if it's a bad result, it's because our documentation isn't that great for that particular thing. But yeah, general components library. Yeah, so it's already done. So we got this right, and then it'd be kind of cool to be like, can you make me a component to upload a file to S3, right? Because like that's a simple thing that I might want to do or need to do in my bot, and so I'll just ask it to do that, and then it shows me what I need to do, creates an example component for me, and then I just drag it out of there and put it in the canvas. That would be so cool. Right? Yeah, I think that is really cool, and it's pretty much done, right? Like, I would be lying to say if a significant number of our component libraries were not at least started from this, and it's pretty much started from something like this. But yeah, okay, so that's that, and this agent will be coming, right? So we have in here a chatbot kind of thing. I think it was just under this, right? What was it called again? I think it was like Circuits AI or something like that. Yeah, Circuits Chat System, right? Coming soon to a Circuits near you that is going to make it much better. And it's going to essentially be this, right? Like maybe I'm going to change some of the things, maybe give it some more examples, get it to be a little bit smarter. But like, I'm not kidding that this thing here is the Circuits agent that everybody will get. And I'm not going to do anything else, right? It's just going to be built on top of our stuff. Okay, cool. So it is 2 a.m. It's about time I wrap up this stream. Thanks for joining, everyone. Make sure that you do the liking, subscribing, and all that stuff. That's very helpful for us. Make sure that the platforms kind of like push our content when we do things, and also give us feedback if there was something that you liked. Send me a message on Twitter or in the chat about what you liked or didn't like, or if you had some ideas that you're like wondering, can I make an agent that does that or not? Feel free to ask. We're here to help. If you haven't already, go to express.ai and sign up. You should, if it is not broken, head to our sign up page, and you can request to be added to the waitlist. We'll be opening that up very soon, so like next week, kind of soon, maybe 2 weeks later, but yeah, really soon for anyone who's kind of interested. If you watch these streams and you know what you're doing and you're sure you won't need a lot of hand-holding and you want it right now, just ping me and I'll give you access right away. But yeah, that's pretty much it for today's stream. I will probably be back next week with more stuff. I kind of think the Express AI kind of LLM system that I've been teasing about is something that we should probably be actually deploying sometime before the end of this month for Builders Weekend and things like that. So I might be doing that. Like, how do you make something that can run local models in a scalable way, while also kind of getting information about that you would want. So I might be doing something like that. If there's any other ideas or things that anyone watching wants me to go through, just let me know. And yeah, with that, I'm gonna go to bed now. I'll see you guys next week. Talk later.